I did the unthinkable in the world of professional wrestling. I invited Swerve into my home. But that's how badly I wanted to hear this man's story in this moment. Swerve is a gentleman that I've known since his days at NXT, but was a fan of long before that, dating back to going on the Indies and CZW and forever. Everybody said that this guy has a future, and apparently the future is here. Coming off of his death match with Hangman Page, everywhere you look, people are saying that this could be the next AEW champion. I wanted to talk to Swerve about that match, about the fact that people think that he's realizing his potential, and about the brains that he's picked along the way, whether it be Shawn Michaels in the Performance Center, Adam Copeland backstage at AEW, and we get into all of that here on the show because, as you should know by now, on Notsam Wrestling, we swerve when we drive. And that's why it couldn't make more sense to have Swerve in studio for the first time, by the way. Welcome, man.
This is lovely. As like I said, a curator of home studios
Yes.
that I am now. This is beautiful. This is amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
This is like a 90s set. Television set, and this is awesome.
Yeah.
This is really bringing like a little like nostalgia to me.
It's fun. It's like, well, yeah, it's just, as you know, when you start figuring out like we can do this, like this is very possible and not nearly as difficult as people think it is.
It looks like more. It looks like a lot, but it probably over time it wasn't as as crazy, difficult and complicated. Like even like the stage lights. I'm like, I'm a fan. Ooh, that's an idea. That gives me some ideas.
Yeah. If you can find a little spot in your home, but also you're pretty busy these days. So it probably becomes very difficult for you to go like, I'm going to spend a couple days working on a home studio. Oh, wait, I have to go do a Texas death match real quick.
Yeah. It's like more like, okay, where can I separate these hours? And it's not consistent hours either. So I can never get like 4 to 6 straight hours on working on something because it's like, oh, wait, well, I still got to get to the gym. Oh, I still got to get to this. Oh, I still got to, we got to get, what's the name on the podcast? Oh, that studio session. I got to leave and like cut an hour or two to get there. That's a 2-hour drive.
Yeah. Plus, you have to eat. Like there's a whole other thing about going on giant television shows with your shirt off that most of us don't have to deal with.
Yeah,
that is it's a time suck, isn't it?
It is. It's like with all that, like, oh yeah, oh, man, I haven't eaten today. Like, oh man, all I had was an orange this morning. Like, oh man, I took my vitamins, but I didn't fuel it with food.
Yeah, I need about 200 grams of protein to get it.
Like, so that just so then you're like rushing to get to someplace, and then just let me just stop and get this and grab this and eat this while I'm driving and stuff. So it becomes that now you're doing multiple things at once just because there's not enough time in the day and you got to cram.
So is the secret that you just focus on whatever you're doing at the time? Like you kind of know, okay, 2 to 4 p.m. That's open. I'm going to be working on this. Let me not think about anything else except this thing. And then I kind of know at this time, I have to go do this over here.
See, that would require waking up early, which I'm really bad at.
Yeah, sleep is tough too.
Yeah. So that's another problem because like we drive at night and we get home at like 2 in the morning.
Right.
So you want to wake up at 6 to get all that. Like you want to like try to get that 8 to 10 workout, and then like 12 to this you had, or like and then you space all this stuff out. And then you're like, oh man, no, I'm actually tired. And then now you're sleeping into 10.
Right.
Now you're like, oh, I'm behind the ball. So now you're multitasking. You're answering emails while eating, while driving to the gym. So it's like that's where it gets to the clutter of things. And you like, and then once again, children.
Yes.
Phone calls will happen at any time.
Right.
And you're like, oh, I gotta stop this for 30 minutes. Talk about this, or emergency dentist visit, like dip into the funds that I had stored away for this, this thing, like so that there's all those things that just like it just comes in on a whim.
Yeah, that is an amazing thing that like with kids, no matter how many things you have stacked up, because you start stacking up more and more because you're providing you got mouths to feed now, right? You're providing for people, but at the same time, no matter how much you have your life put together, when you have this priority that at any time could come in.
2 priorities on 2 different households. So Like, so that's two different mothers I got to communicate with at all times.
Yes.
And make sure both of them are good. So it's not just the daughters, it's the mothers got to be good too.
Right.
Because if they're not doing good, the kids aren't doing good.
100%.
And that's something I learned growing up, like a household full of ladies, like two sisters, mom, and so moms have to be good all the time.
Yeah, no, that's 100% right. Also, if your person you're co-parenting with doesn't like you, all of a sudden your kids don't like you, and you're like, what happened? Oh, I wasn't paying attention to their mother.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, how old are your daughters?
14 and 11.
So, how old do you have to be to watch your dad in a Texas death match?
Oh, I refused. I didn't even let them know it was coming up. It was happening. I was just like, yeah, that's going on over there. The last time I had them, I brought them to the Tampa show we did throughout the summer, and that was like just a tag match on Rampage.
Yeah,
it was like 4 minutes, like
sure.
me and AR Fox type thing, and they were just in the audience. And they were like, "Oh man, that's cool! Oh, they're doing that thing and stuff." But it's really cool to like the fact that they're teenagers now. I don't have to like have them by the hand walking around. I was just like, "Oh, go rummage."
Independent people.
Yeah. Like, if you need me, call me.
Yeah.
Or like reach out to, Amanda Huber and like, and they just sit in catering, playing on their phone, playing Minecraft or whatever, or Roblox it is. And everybody's like, oh, that's Swerve kids. They're good. So that's what it is now. It's not like I'm hand holding them. I'm not like burping them. I have to like trying to rock them to sleep while I'm trying to do all this stuff. They're like, oh, have fun.
They're just doing their thing.
Yep. You stay between these curtains and these curtains.
This is your area. Yeah. But it's also smart, I think, that you do pick and choose what they see and what they don't see. Because I'd have to imagine doing something like what you just did with Hangman Page and how far you guys went.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't even have the thought in your head, "Oh, my kids are going to see this." Like,
no,
that can't be there, right?
No. It goes back to that time of like watching the Beyond the Mat, watching Mick Foley get beaten by The Rock in front of his kids, front row.
Right.
It's like, that's too much.
Right, because you, as the performer, and I think Mick probably dealt with this too, certain things are normalized to you.
Yeah.
Actually, I can do that, and I mean, it'll suck in the moment, but I'll be okay the next day. Like, I know how to go on this level, but the whole magic of death matches that nobody watching understands how anybody could go on that level, and that would include your loved ones.
And the thing is, like, with my kids, we watch horror movies. They're big Insidious, and like me, my kids, and my niece, my nephew. They're all around the same age, like a year apart, one by one, and we'll sit back and we can watch like It and stuff like that, and they'll like just laugh about it. But the fact that they're still like in the age where this is still fantasy, this is really like, this is in a sense it's comedy to them. They laugh about this. And
that's wild.
It's wild to me. I'm like, hey, want to watch this new Disney movie? It just came out on Disney Plus. Like, no, we want to watch Scream. I'm like, what? So. Like they still find it funny because like with horror and comedy, there's hand in hand. If you look at like Freddy Krueger and stuff, there's a lot of comedy mixed with horror.
Sure.
So they still find a lot of funny in the horror and stuff, and they still recognize it as fantasy and stuff. I don't want them to see someone that they know personally that are related to, they have a love connection with in that same realm, and correlate that with the real thing.
Yeah, I get that. Because not only would it like obviously be traumatic to see you go through that, but now this love of horror might completely shift because they've watched this thing in real life and go like, that wasn't funny.
Yeah.
And so now this thing that I was laughing at because it's all fantasy.
Yeah.
Now I can't enjoy that anymore.
Exactly.
That's interesting.
I kind of want to separate the two.
Yeah.
Let's laugh at this, and I don't want you to correlate that with a trauma.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Were you surprised at the negative side that you got from that Texas death match? That a lot of people, especially obviously the blood drinking spot, right. Like a lot of people were like, this is. I mean, I guess coming from the deathmatch world, you've probably dealt with that a lot, right?
I mean, like coming from like deathmatch world and like like seeing like the CZW and stuff like that, like a monthly, almost bi-weekly basis and stuff. I've seen syringes go through people's mouths, like, and I've seen like a bed of 9-inch nails.
Yeah.
Like soda cans, and like ripped off soda cans have like Christmas ornaments. I've seen some wild stuff.
Yeah.
So like, but I know how extreme that is to the common viewer of wrestling, just the common viewer of like just media watcher and stuff. I know there's a limit to take it, and once you cross that limit, you can't go back. So we could go further. I could go further, but I know what we still have is like, this is still a fresh company. If we go beyond that, it's like, all right, we've seen it. Like, it's almost like you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube.
Totally.
So once like this takes someone out, how do we get them like evacuated? How do we, how do we take them out? Like what leaves someone off the TV screen for like 3 months?
Right.
What debilitates someone on camera?
Yeah.
So there's like we're really cautious about like how far this really goes, and really conscious of the brutality and the type of brutality. It wasn't like just beating someone's brains in for the sake of it. No, this is warranted. I'm a bad person that did a bad thing.
Yeah.
And this person wants to get back at them for crossing a line at a personal level to get back at the bad things that they did. So a lot of people are like, oh, that's a good guy doing this. That's a babyface spot. That's a heel spot. Oh, that's no, these are two men fighting each other because one wronged the other and one is justified for getting their wrong back.
Right.
Yes,
and I think that's, for me, I mean, I love deathmatch wrestling, but it's also the why is the most important part. Like, it's even more important in a death match than a regular match to be telling a story here. Like why is this happening, and why wouldn't it happen in this other match that we're watching?
Exactly.
Like, why, if Swerve is choking a man with a steel chain in this match, why would he then do this in the Continental Classic? And it's like, well, the answer is the story that you told getting there, right? And how things elevated from the death match at Wrestle Dream, and then going past that, the promo going right into it, where Hangman is I mean, saying all these things that are clearly like would have to be real insecurities
for sure
of yours.
Which he got back to, which that was a get back.
Of course,
I started going on him,
of course,
about a lot of these insecure things that he was going through in the year that he had. It's just like, all right, I'm gonna flush all that back at you,
right? Because
it was almost like the elephant in the room nobody wants to address. I'm like, well, I'm gonna be the one to step out and say it to you.
Yes.
Now it's personal because I'm saying it. I'm saying what the little chatter is and what he's hearing in his head. That okay, nobody's really we see it, but nobody's addressing it. Well, I'm gonna address it. So now it's like, okay, now it's like direct line.
Yeah,
it's not other people's voices anymore. It's Swerve is the conduit to all these like little things that he was feeling and what social media was saying. Like, because it's just noise at first, but now it's a person directing it. Yes. Now it's like, now that noise doesn't matter because all that noise came from me. And now it's like, now I know who to attack now. I can't attack that voice and Jimmy this and that account and this, or I can't attack that guy. No, let's funnel that into a ball of energy.
Right.
And I'm going to be the one to hold that ball of energy and like throw it back to you.
100%. You're not just facing this guy. This guy represents all those frustrations and all these critics and all these naysayers. It all becomes you.
Yes.
And so there's a reason now that we're doing what we're doing. Why I have to drink this man's blood and spit it back.
Right. Well, that was his choice for whatever reason he wanted to do that, But like that's like this that's how angry that to me that showed a lot of anger.
Yeah, of
that
course.
Showed a lot of hatred.
That's that like I'm not thinking raw emotion.
Yeah. Like people think like, oh, he was just doing something that's really gross. I'm like in that moment, it's like you don't know what you'll do when someone has crossed a line, especially with your family and your loved ones.
Yes.
You don't know what you would do.
Yes.
And that's what that represented. Like that I can imagine of whatever Hangman was going through at the time in the moment of that match. Like we've seen like some of the craziest like Like we just seen like a Jeffrey Dahmer documentary and stuff
Right.
like that. This people, when it comes to anger and rage, you don't know what you'll personally do to embarrass someone. You don't know what personally you'll do to take something from someone. You know, to me, I took his security away.
Right.
And that's a vulnerable place for a man to be, especially as a father.
It's a violation, right? That
Correct.
character violated.
I violated it.
Yes.
His security in his home.
Yeah.
And as a man, that's demasculating.
Yes.
So what did he do back to me? Like, he jumped Nana in our back and forth conversation. Well, not, he's just berating of me, and I can't do anything about it.
Right.
He took my security away.
Yeah.
I'm physically watching a friend of mine getting beat by a man that I hate.
Right.
Because now he's demasculating me back to me, and I can't do anything. I want to, but legally, I don't want to. Like, do I want to do the death match? Absolutely not. But do I want to get suspended and lose money for the rest of the year? Absolutely not. I'm a mogul.
Right.
I need my money to like fund all these things that I do.
To mogul.
Yeah. Without that money, I don't get Nana's dancers, the pressure girls coming out.
Right.
You know, like, so it's a big picture thing with me, and it's a personal big picture thing with him.
Yeah, and I think that that's great. I think that the fact that you can sit here, just like any character in a movie, just like whatever, and you can justify the things that your character is doing on screen at all times. I feel like if you're telling great stories, everybody should be able to go, here is why this character made these decisions, and here's why it went this far. Here's why he was jamming staples into his own chest. Here's why it got elevated to the point that it got elevated.
For sure. Like, I hear people talk about, like, breaking down the match and stuff, which, thank you very much for going out of your way to discuss this match, whether positive or negative.
Yeah.
You're talking about it, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And that's another reason we wanted to strike conversation. And like, this is his fourth Texas death match. So it's like, how do we make it more personal than all the other ones? Not necessarily more violent,
right?
Not more brutal, not go bigger, not fall off of this. How do we make it just more personal of a death match between me and him? And another reason, like, which made it, I will say it, whether it be controversial or not, you don't see a lot of African Americans in these type of matches either.
That's right.
In these type of violence.
Yep.
So I think that's another reason why the polarization of it kind of went up a little bit, because you're seeing someone who's outside, like a culture that's not really used to this element. You know, like we had a New Jack, God rest his soul, like years ago doing this. We really don't see that in the mainstream light. So seeing someone who's like, oh, he's a really gifted athlete wrestler. Wait, deathmatch? It's like, those don't go hand in hand. So it's kind of breaking a mold in a sense, and I'm like kind of reaching outside the spectrum that people expect of me. Now you don't know what to expect from me.
Right.
Now you don't. Now you kind of know, like, oh wow, he will go that far, and I didn't know that.
Right.
I think that's another reason why the curiosity and it just went even further, because it's like, whoa, Swerve, whoa, what, he did that?
Right. I also like. I love moments where you see something on television, no matter how long you've been watching for, you're like, I don't even understand how that happened. Like, I heard people say, I don't understand how you pile drive somebody on top of a guardrail.
Yeah.
Like, this is like a thing that you do with action figures, because it could never happen in real life. That's just one of those. I mean, did you have that vision in your head of that move? Did you see the guardrail and go, you know what?
Yeah,
my balance is pretty good.
Yeah, with that, it's just like, it was like, it went back to like, I had the conversation with shout out Chris Van Fleet. We were talking about Lucha Underground.
Yes.
And the arena.
Yes.
Was such a part of the matches in itself, and there's no other promotion that could really do that.
Yes.
You know, so I was like, how do I make this arena part of the match?
Interesting.
So it was like, and we were still within the box. We didn't go up the stage, and we didn't go like crazy. We still like were confined and things like that. So I was like, I want to use everything as a weapon. There's nothing that's out of bounds. And this guardrail, we run into it a lot. I'm like, but what can I do with this thing? You know? And that's just one of the like most brutal like idea, just in the thought of the idea of just like, oh my God, this small little space, and your head is hitting it Just
Yeah.
like, and that's like, oh man, my sadistic mind was like, I want to do that in some sense. I don't know how, but I'm gonna figure it out. And especially pouring blood and you're like, everything is like, yeah, this is the time. This is a visual, and I like visuals. I'm a visual person. Like, so a crane cam watching from like just a sea of people below you just looks cool.
Yeah.
It looks like this is a big deal. Let's use the visual of all these people in the Kia Forum as a part of this moment. And
you're basically inside of it.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're as close as you could possibly be to them.
Yeah.
When you're on that guardrail.
And then there's people just like, wow, the action is right here, and it could happen. And like, you don't. It's always that moment of like, you don't know what's going to happen next.
Right.
You don't know what's going to happen next, and it's especially being right in front of you, like, oh, this is personal. Like, this guy's almost invading my space.
Right.
I don't know what's going to happen.
What's how you make wrestling real, right?
Yeah.
When it's right in front of you, you see that blood, you see them there, you see your eyes, you see his eyes. You're like, I'm going to back away. It's like watching those old, like, Japanese death matches when guys would get in the crowd and fans would run, or Bruiser Brody would get in the crowd and they'd run in panic.
The suspension of disbelief kind of is like, it's gone now. It's like, oh my God, no, these guys are trying to murder each other, and they don't care how they do it. They don't care where they do it.
Yeah.
They don't care who sees it, who witnesses it. So it's like American Gangster with Denzel Washington. Bow, shot in the street on the front of your stoop.
Now
everybody sees it.
This is where we're at now.
Yep.
This is where we're at.
Yep. Like, somebody else clean this up.
Right.
Because I can.
Right, because and I just established that thing that I won't do, I will.
I will.
So
you're not safe anywhere at any time.
Right.
Like grocery store, laundromat, doesn't matter.
Right.
Anybody can get got at any place, and I don't care who sees it, and I'm not going to get in trouble for it.
Right. Right.
You know?
and then it just happens that way.
Yeah.
There was
to me, that's real fear.
Yeah.
That's the real fear. I did a discussion about this like a while, like maybe a year ago, and I was like, what's real fear? Fear isn't like turning off the lights. Fear isn't like spooky costumes. I'm not coming at anybody and like being personal, like attacking anybody's gimmicks. Because I grew up, I as of like last year's, I'm a big God rest his soul, Bray Wyatt Fiend character. I was enthralled with everything that he was doing. But in this generation with social media age and stuff, what's real fear? Fear is like a real person being able to reach out and get to you. Mm-hmm. To me, real fear is an actual person. That's why these documentaries are so big. Because it's like, these are real live people. Like the lady renting out a room but poisoning their guests. Right. That's real. And to me, that's a real fear. So I'm like, how do I pull that into the wrestling world and be like, oh no, like I can walk up to, a place which is supposed to be safe and secure, like Nick Wayne's training school. I can just walk up and bloody this kid in his own training school that his father created, and nobody can do anything about it. Mm-hmm. And I can just walk out. And
you will.
And I will do it.
Yeah.
To me, that's a real fear, because that's supposed to be a safe haven. This is supposed to be where we learn. It's something, you take something that's so good and innocent, and I can just take it and rip it up, and without any cause, any repercussions for it. It can just happen. Yeah. I want it to. To me, that's real fear.
No, I think that's an incredible observation, actually, because like as a ridiculous horror movie guy, the thing that gets me is that loss of control, meaning there's nothing I can do. It's already over.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like I love that movie, The Green Inferno, that Eli Roth did.
Yeah.
Not because of how brutal it is, not because of the violence, but because there's this feeling that like when you're trapped and they have you in the cage, right? You can scream, you can run, you can do whatever you want, but it's already over.
It's already done.
And it's like, if somebody is willing, like for your character, it's like the people that you're competing against. Well, once Dynamite's over, I get on the plane, I'm done. I'll deal with him next week. No. That's you know how much time that is between the next episode of Dynamite?
Yeah. What if I leave the arena before you?
Right. And where's he going?
Where am I going?
Right. And you've got those eyes now that you've perfected, that like stone cold like eyes where it's like, I don't care. Like, no, I'm not. I don't. you'll never see sympathy.
No. And like to me is like what warrants that is like not everybody gets that type of emotion from me. Like, you know, like I had the Continental Classic with Jay Lethal and I beat him, moved on. He doesn't get that feeling of like remorse, like no remorse from me. But like somebody that has something that I really want, or somebody thinks they're bigger than me, thinks they like looks down on me, thinks they like, oh, you shouldn't be here. There's someone like that feels entitled to everything they have, and they don't think like anything can really take that away. It's like, ooh, that feels like a challenge to me. And I feel like my insecurity, my sense of just like sociopath views of things is like, oh, I feel like he's talking to me. Maybe he's not, but what if he is?
Yes.
Like, I want to do something about that because he thinks nobody can. I want to take them down a peg.
Yeah.
It's kind of like how social media is. Like, oh, this guy's getting a lot of momentum. This guy, a lot of people talking about this person. He thinks he's bigger than our control. Watch this. Bring this up. I'm going to take him down a peg because we feel like we have control.
I also love the idea of the character, like sociopath is the right word, because it's almost like, no, you misunderstood. I wasn't trying to take you down a peg. Oh, well, it's too late.
Yeah.
I'm already here. So
yeah.
Sorry.
To me, that's someone that's like, all right, we got to be very cautious about how we move around them, because I don't like people can just walk, and it's a wrestling trope. People can just walk up and say whatever they want to you face to face. Like, excuse me?
Right.
You're going to dress me down in front of thousands of people, millions watching at home, and think I'm not going to do anything about that?
I'm going to have to destroy your life.
I'm like, I'm sorry. Like, no. I'm not letting that fly.
Yeah.
Like, no, there's a consequence to that. Like, if you're going to say something to me and you say it to my face and you're going to run me down and be direct, I can be even more direct to you because I can reach through this screen. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not. The confines, and it kind of goes back to what you're saying about the arena and using everything, but the confines of the TV box, I don't live there.
Yeah.
I'm everywhere.
Oh, right. Yeah, when you like, it's almost like man, like you turn off Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah.
The game's over. Oh man, everything's safe now. No, the game's still going. I'm still playing.
I'm still playing the game.
I'm still playing. Yeah. All your like loot boxes, mine. Like, your cars, mine. I can still. It's almost that mentality. It's like whatever safe space you think you have, I burst through that and I break it and I rip it apart.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and then it's amazing because when you contextualize it that way, it's like then all the Nana stuff like getting so popular and like people having a great time with it. And making TikToks and it's almost like this weird, like false sense of security where it's like, yeah, it's fun over here. Yeah, it's fun.
It's luring you in that sense of like, but oh man, this music is so good. It's like we're having good. We can dance. We can TikTok. We can dance to it.
Yeah.
Yes. Dance monkeys. Yeah.
Right. As long as I say it's okay.
Yeah. It's almost very mogul-ish.
Yes.
If you want to.
Yeah.
If you want to go there.
It goes deep. I'm having
really
a good time. I like this. Yeah.
It's almost, we've been seeing that since we were kids, in a sense.
Yeah, absolutely. How do you, character work aside, how do you get past, because there were two things that struck me as I'm watching, just on a human level, right? One, that moment where you hit Adam Page with the chair that's wrapped in barbed wire.
Right.
And it does really loop on his head. Because that's when it's like, oh, this is real, right? When it's like that moment where it jerks and you're like, oh, something catastrophic could happen at any moment on a very real level. But also, when another man is wrapping your head up in real barbed wire.
Yeah.
And you know that like they're getting ready for a move or whatever it is. There's just something that like, how do you put down that natural human instinct to just panic? Just like, no, I can't.
You got to be set in that situation to know how to control that.
Yeah.
Control your breathing and your heart and your mind. I'm lucky to we both are. Me and Hangman are both lucky the fact that we've been in these situations before. He's done his Texas death matches and like broadcast to the world over the last 4 years. And, but in reality, he's a home homebody, farm, cowboy guy with his family, a former teacher and stuff. So to be able to like just switch like that, to go into like control your heart rate and your mind and all these psychological things that you can go through traumatic wise, that's a gift. So that's hats off to Hangman in that sense, because it's not just that moment just makes it, oh, this is real. All of it's real danger.
Of course.
All of it. We've seen people like get paralyzed on less.
I mean, on things that wrestling fans take for granted. Most injuries, I would argue, happen on things that most fans just go, I see this 6 times a show, every show.
Right. But like sometimes I've seen people crack their ribs running the ropes.
Sure.
So like all of it's real danger. It's just a matter of how you take that and like just once again like focus it and really it's almost like that meter's getting higher and you just gotta slow the breathing down and just not panic. And it's the same like with Lucha Underground, the Hell of War death match. Of course. There was a lot of elements of danger, a lot more athleticism. I was younger, so I could jump a little more and higher, and then like now can't do that as much. Like hats off to Fox, who still can do all that after all these years. Maniac of an athlete. Just knowing I've been in that situation before, like falling through a pane of glass, and all you have is gear, so your legs are scratched, your back is scratched, your armpit, like all these small little crevices, they all have a sharp pain because it's in you now, and and you're losing blood, and you still have a lot more to go. It's 2 out of 3 falls, and you're like, all right, you got to kind of like calm down, and then you got to put in the count. There's cameras, lights, people are watching you do this, like in pain. So there's a lot of like elements of just like things. It could be anxiety inducing.
Yeah.
So it's all about calming that nerve down a little bit.
There's a meditation to it. Yeah. That people, I mean, wouldn't expect in an environment
for sure
like that.
Like my girlfriend Lexus, she was one of the dancers.
Oh, awesome.
She's to the right of Nana. On the front. You see photos online of like me, like everybody's laughing and we're about to do this performance and all this. Oh my gosh, we're about to go like in front of Kia Forum, do the Nana dance in front of. Oh, this is going to be so much fun. Me, I'm just like stone cold. Like,
yes,
I'm getting there before it even happens.
But that's also why it works. That's how you can get away with having something so silly and fun, combined with an act like what you're doing. What went into the Bray Wyatt tribute we saw on your Instagram? After, I don't think people caught it. I didn't catch it, and I love catching that stuff. I love the little details. But you showed like how your gear was inspired by the Fiend, and it was your tribute to Bray and what he did with the Fiend.
I didn't know Bray as much as as close to a lot of people that like maybe like shout out like Brody Lee. A lot of people there's people that got influenced by him, but his time there. But some people known him since like FCW all the way back then, maybe, or NXT molding into like FCW molding into NXT. They have that personal connection. But to me, it was just like, there was a lot, like I remember when the Fiend was really going and stuff, there was just a lot of like chatter of like if this was for them as a fan and stuff like that. And I was like, no, like this is brilliant work. And I don't think people really appreciated the brilliance that he was bringing to the screen. And like a lot of risk he was taking too, week by week by week by week, which is not easy to do. Weekly television on 2 shows too. Like he wasn't just Raw, he wasn't just SmackDown, he was doing both shows with material. And then bringing that to the real world and stuff. He was like, I really appreciated that. And I think he was like ahead of his time and stuff. And I just wanted to show appreciation that the love and influence wasn't lost. So I put that a part of my gear, and like I was in the locker rooms with him during my time when doing 205. He always gave me hugs. He was awesome. At one point I had to help him with the Fiend mask.
That's cool.
one time when it was COVID and we were all like in that little box together. So there's times I had to help him with that. There's times I would see like and Gorilla, him coming back when they were testing the red lighting during the matches on after, like dark matches after the show tapings and stuff. They were really getting that going. I've seen through a lot of those processes with him, and he was always a good brother in the locker room. He was fun. He was really cool. And I just wanted to, that was one of those things I'm like you've always influenced me through all this, no matter what. A lot of people's, it was their taste. It wasn't. I'm a horror person, and I was just really happy to see a new age of horror brought to the screen and in an industry that I love, and that I was like, man, that was a revolutionary, and I want to like take a little piece of that into what I was doing that night, because if anything, I feel like his spirit powered that match in a lot as well. You know?
Yeah, I think it goes. What you're saying is right about the difficulty of it, because as much as fans want stuff they haven't seen before and they want outside the box, pro wrestling is extremely established as to what it is. So when somebody comes in and goes, no, I'm not just gonna do things differently. Like Bray started doing stuff that had never been done in the medium before.
Yeah.
And then he started doing it every week. And it's like, to go like, okay, I'm not going to model myself. I'm not going to think, oh yeah, I remember when Piper did this. I'm going to do this. I remember when so-and-so did this. I'm going to do that. It was just like, yeah, I'm going to do this Mr. Rogers show. And
it's like, oh
yeah, I'm going to hope it hits, but like there is no guarantee that it hits because it's never happened.
And it's very rare that it hits across the board. Like you get a 10, 10, 10, 10, 10 from every outlet, every fan base. It's just impossible at this day and age. So just know it hit the right people. It hit the notes with people that are like, that really cared. The ones that it did hit, it changed their lives.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what matters. And it just know it definitely did for me. Like it changed my viewing of like the possibilities of what we can really do in this medium, in this industry. I'm going to take a piece of that and revamp it in a way that fits me in a hip hop and horror. Who could ever really, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's almost like Mr. Rogers and horror and stuff like that. It's like, okay, I'm just
Busta Rhymes did it a little bit in Halloween.
He did. H2O with his karate.
100%.
Oh my God. Yeah. Like round doing like Malachi Black freaking roundhouse kicks and Tim's to Michael Myers.
Yes.
Let's go.
Yes.
So, and still got killed. Well, they didn't get killed, but it still didn't work.
No, it didn't work.
Yeah.
What was it? I feel like, everything moves so quickly now that we don't take enough time to appreciate when big things happen. That's why, I want to spend so much time talking about this match with Adam Page, because I feel like that's one of those massive things, but also Wembley. I mean, you that have wrestled in every conceivable venue, from every indie venue to WWE to COVID era where you're wrestling in front of literally nobody, to now, I mean, you're here. And I think that's the story of a lot of people in AEW. You're here in front of 80,000 people. That's not something most people, even in wrestling, ever get to do. Number one, I mean, what did that just feel like being there? And number two, sharing a ring, not only with Christian, which would have been enough, but sharing a ring with Sting. What was that like?
For that day, it was just, I was in work mode.
Yeah.
I was just in performance.
Yep.
Make this matter.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't until after I looked back on it, it was just like, wow, I did it. That's incredible. I found a way, and I found a way to make it meaningful in a historic setting. The event itself is historic. Just being there is like making history. From everybody from Hook all the way to the top with Kip Sabian on commentary to the main event with Adam Copeland and MJF. Everybody mattered and everybody made history. So I want everybody to understand regardless whatever part you played in that, you made history. So don't think whatever little job you did. No, everybody mattered. So, but for the fact of just me being in there with icons and legends, and a Darby who we've shared couches with, Sammy Callahan in Florida, it's just like, wow, we made this happen. And like Sting, an icon, just getting his moment and to be a part of that. Like we're in history with that kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, and tagging with Christian, one of the greatest tag team wrestlers of all time. To me, my like fan moment, I had one, was us hitting double spears at the same time.
Sure.
Which was like a precursor to you seeing Adam Copeland come in later on, a couple months later. It was like, oh, didn't know that was going to happen. So, but like, yeah, like that was just that event. And then having DJ Who Kid and my man Flash Garments, who's like steadily to this day, Flash Garments is changing my life. One like business meeting at a time. We just had another one last night. I'll go into that later. But this man has changed my life. Got me in the studio with freaking Grammy winners. Got me to go to the Grammys.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So that's something I always wanted to give back to that man, and having him do that in front of 80,000, like as an independent artist, not signed. That was our work with DJ Who Kid, who's, you know, Who Kid more than anybody, you know, just like the character that he is.
I mean, dude. So I first of all, I love that you're now. I love Who Kid being involved in wrestling.
Yeah.
Is like the most, because I've known him for years through radio and we've done shows together and like but like I'll never forget when he first showed up in AEW. I texted him while he was on television and went, "Hey, idiot, if you're gonna be on television, why are you wearing a ski mask? No one can see your face."
Yeah.
Well, I was just trying to look cool, man. I was just trying.
I don't know. It's funny. It's like he just kind of like just winged it throughout his life.
His whole life.
Yeah. But it's just like, yeah.
But it works.
Yeah, it works. And like, so just having him just be like, "Hey, could you just wing it one more time on this entrance? Like flames are popping up." He's like, "Oh snap, that's hot." Like, you know, I like this, like this dude. You know, just like works with 50 Cent, did Lil Wayne's like last 2 weeks ago. Just did Miami with Travis Scott, Eminem's DJ. Went to the Super Bowl. I was in LA the day went to the LA Rams game the day after the death match, and they show Gunna is at the stadium, and like, what, everybody look, yada yada yada, it's Gunna here, and everybody, and then Who Kid's right behind, like, oh, I'm like, I'm texting,
of course he is.
I'm like, "You're here." So I'm like, this is my favorite team. Get out of here. You're ruining this for me. But it was like just to have that core representation of guys, and then Nana getting his moment.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like you thought he like had his time in the sun and he just walked off in the sunset. Like, no, he's here, the biggest moment. You know, to give that to these guys. That's what I feel like my biggest power is. I can generate my energy to the people close to me that really, really deserve it and really like should be there in that moment, you know?
Yeah.
And that was a lesson that was taught to me from Sammy Callahan. Like, dude, if you have something, like, don't just harness that for yourself. You lend it out to like the ones that care. Make it a small circle. Not everybody should get that. Not everybody gets like your energy and your power. But the ones that have been there, that like have got you further, you give it back. You know, and that's what that was for me. And then like that was the 50 years of hip hop celebration. That's like the same month. So it was like, oh, let's celebrate 50 years of hip hop on this entrance. So there's a tribute there. The Jimmy Rave robe as the crown jewel of the embassy. Now the Mogul Embassy, you know, rebranded. There's just a lot of pieces to that entrance that made that match just so memorable. And Darby like jumping off of on a casket, coffin dropping, you know, me being able to like just manhandle Sting in a way. It's like I hit a swerve stop on Sting in Wembley Stadium, which was just a move that Rich Swann just gave to me because him and Shima used to do it in Japan. So we were like, "Hey, we did this before. You should do it." I'm like, "Okay, cool." In like 2012. So it's just like a lot of like come to Jesus moments. It's like, oh my God, this is like real. Like, this is really inspiring. Hopefully that can be inspiring to somebody. But, like, it's an inspiration to be with these guys that are inspirational to me in my childhood growing up.
Well, yeah, who were those people growing up in wrestling?
Edge is my guy, for sure. Rey Mysterio is my number one.
Wow.
I got to wrestle Rey Mysterio, and this was like on like a independent show, 6-man tag, and he told me I really wanted to work with you in Lucha Underground.
Whew.
So he's like I really want to do something with you tonight. I was like, oh my God, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Rey Mysterio. So I had that, but like Edge and Adam Copeland, I like still have his DVD, still have his book in like my little home studio, and newsflash, he's going to be on the Swerve City podcast.
Yes.
End of the month. So
yes, that's going to be a great one because you guys, in the conversations that I've had with him, you guys have that connection where you're thinking about so many microscopic details that I mean, maybe 3 people will get.
Yeah.
But for those 3 people, it'll hit hard. Like the little, even in his like gear, like little things that he adds in there.
Yeah. And that's where we connected when we met, when he came down to NXT to talk to us and stuff. Like me and him, like I pulled him aside and it's like, yo, man, you're one of my favorites. Like you're talking about this, like that was really cool. Like, cause if you like this, do you watch this? And he was like, I love that. Do you watch this? I do too. I watch these YouTube videos where they dissect this. Like, what? I do the same thing. There's a book about this. What? There's a book? Tell me more. Oh my God. And then we just went into a long conversation where we exchanged numbers. And he started studying tapes, like getting on the phone with me, watching like 205 live matches, like dissecting them for like 30 minutes over the phone. Oh, I was like, absolutely. And then one of the biggest compliments, like I got 2 of the biggest compliments ever in my tenure there, was the fact that like he's like, yeah, you really like, it's not like in a sense of like you're doing wrestling psychology in a sense of like, oh, that makes sense into the match, but like, no, that makes sense in like in a fighting combatant stance. It's something like almost very similar to what Bret Hart did. So I got that correlation from Adam. And then when I was in the Performance Center, like Bloom, he was like, yeah, you remind me a lot of Orton in a sense.
Wow.
And I was like, this is like 190-pound me. And I was like, he's like, yeah, but honestly, yeah, like I think you remind me a lot of Orton in a lot of ways you do things. And think, and then like you pace yourself, like, oh wow, and I never thought about it like that because I never put myself next to Orton like that. So I was just like, but
it is because like Randy Orton, I think one of the things that makes him, in the conversation for greatest of all time, right, is the logical approach. Is that like, and it's I mean it's a great observation by Adam Copeland that like it is that sort of not wrestler logic, human logic.
For sure.
What would a person do who had the abilities of a professional wrestler in this scenario?
Yeah.
And I think that is a connection that you're going to make with the audience because the audience isn't wrestlers, they're people.
Exactly. And that's why I always said I don't study wrestling anymore. I stopped studying wrestling years ago. I study people.
Right.
Like what is a human interaction that can get this human to understand that and put them in their shoes. So it's like a really good movie is like, what would I do in this situation? If the water's filling up in the room, like, I would like, why aren't you doing this? Why shouldn't you do this? Why would he do this? Why is he going to pick up that? Like you put yourself in that situation, like whether it's an idiotic decision being made or like, oh, that was smart. I wouldn't have thought of that, or like he should do this. And then it happens. You're like, yes, you're rewarded for thinking that as a viewer. And then, or it's like he should do this. He didn't do that. Now you're disappointed as a viewer. And so you're like, I want to do the same thing in a wrestling realm.
Yeah.
So like I said earlier, if it sparks conversation and y'all are talking about it, like, why would I do this? Why would I do this? Why shouldn't I do this? I got you.
Would you care for me to explain it to you? Do you need me to break it down for you? Because I can.
Well, now I'm going to put it behind a paywall because
yeah,
100%.
Because not only can I explain it to you, but I can monetize it as well.
Yeah, you're gonna have to pay for that type of thing.
No, that's 100%. I mean, those brains to be able to kind of use those brains around you, like those are some of the best wrestling brains in the world. But I mean, I think one of the things that makes the Performance Center so cool is that Shawn Michaels is just there.
He's there.
I mean, you talk about a guy who just like, it's one of my favorite conversations I ever had for the podcast just about wrestling is just like getting 45 minutes to talk to Shawn about his career and just ask about the stuff that he did. And it's like just the way that he talked about wrestling. I was like, that's that's what it is. It's not teaching
Yeah.
people how to do backflips. It's like, no, here's how I feel about wrestling, and it's like, oh wow, this could benefit so many people. Did you have that experience with him, like getting to kind of pick his brain?
Yeah, like once again, we connected more as people.
Yes.
Before the wrestling.
Yes.
So it was like the things he did well and the things he admitted that he did not handle well.
Right.
Under pressure, and that's the story for him to tell. But that's where like, oh, okay, I don't have to be great at everything.
So you're saying that like it's not so much, here's what you should do in the ring when you're in this. It's like when you achieve a certain level of success, this is how you're going to feel. This is what's going to come at you. This person's going to say this. This person's going to say that. This is going to be the instinct. It's a mistake. This is the...
It was just the fact that he was vulnerable enough to be like, I didn't handle this well.
Wow.
Like he's like, yeah, I was better suited in this position.
Wow.
And I was like, ooh. Now it's made me think, I'm like, what position do I think would fit me best? Where do I need to position myself?
Yeah.
And as a performer, does everybody need to be freaking like MJF? Does everybody need to be Jericho? Does everybody need to be like a Moxley? Like now it's like, what does Swerve need to be in that conversation?
And that's difficult to get to, I think, because a lot of people see success and they go, oh, I'll mimic that, and then I'll be successful as well. But it's like
easy to fall into that.
And because it's not going to work, because it's like...
I personally can't be an MJF.
Right, because what made MJF successful was tapping into this thing in him. So it's not, I need to start acting like MJF. It's, I need to figure out what MJF tapped into so that I tap into that and then see what it looks like.
I would say opposite. I need to do everything MJF isn't doing. I need to go completely opposite because MJF needs somebody else across from him.
Yep.
That isn't MJF.
He needs a Joker to his Batman.
Exactly. That's what worked with me and Hangman.
Yes.
I need to be everything that Hangman isn't. Everything Hangman accomplished, I don't need to accomplish it that way. I need to go this way, and we need to be polar opposites. Like, or I can, with my character, I can influence this Hangman to evolve into the Hangman that you see that would drink blood.
Yes.
Like
the school teacher is drinking blood because
I
dragged
pushed him to that because I wasn't him.
Yeah.
And that's where it's like, that's where another light bulb, like light bulbs go off for me like on a weekly basis. Like, oh, yes. And it's to the point where it's like, it's not like maybe that'll work. No, it's like, this will work. I know it because I know me. And I know how the people feel about me and think about me. I know this will work.
Yeah.
That's where light bulbs are going off. Some people have light bulbs go off and it's like, the ideas go off. That's not a light bulb going off. That's just like, oh, you got an idea. You got an inkling. You got a feeling. You got intuition. A light bulb is going off is like, I got it. I know this will work. This is a guaranteed boom. That's light bulb. And it's almost like the sense of like, everybody's the GOAT. Like, nah, not everybody's not the GOAT. Everybody's a star. Not everybody's a star. Like, like I said, you can't give that energy out to just everybody, everything. Everybody who has a hot moment, everybody that has like a really good match. I'm like, okay, you had a great performance. Do it again. Do it again. Now do it over here. Now do it without this.
Right.
Now do it with this. Now do it 3 times this weekend. That's a star.
Right.
That's a GOAT. That's something special.
Have you had moments like on that level where you're like, man, I thought I was ready then.
Oh yeah.
But this feeling that I have now,
oh yeah.
Do you like your past self? Do you think that person could have kind of handled the role that you found yourself on right now?
Now, I got, once again, I look at everything. I see everything. Sometimes I respond to it. Maybe I shouldn't. Maybe but I do. I'm petty. Now, there was I saw this earlier. They were like, man, they should have pushed the button on him a year ago or 2 years ago. I'm like, no, they shouldn't have. Like, I'll admit that. They're like, oh, no, they were like doing this and they did this and they could have tapped in here. I'm like, no, it wasn't my time. Once again, like it goes back to Shawn's quote is they were like, he's like, I didn't handle it in this position at that time. Now at a later time, I probably would have handled that better, but now I know where I'm good at. Now I know where I know where my position lies and what I can handle that. And I excel at this. you know, that's where I'm at now. Like, I wouldn't have handled it, or I would have been a different performer. You wouldn't have got as much depth to the character or the persona that the mogul is. You wouldn't have been afraid of the mogul at that time a year ago. Now people are afraid of him.
Yep.
Now people know how far this mogul persona is willing to go. Now you've seen the scars that are left on the mogul and to what got him there. A year ago, there wouldn't have been any scars. Yeah, people might have liked me. People might have like enjoyed my matches or seen what I was doing and like, oh man, we like this guy. Like we should like that's not a world champion though. A world champion, you got to like build into a world champion. You don't place a world championship on someone who's talented.
I also think people sometimes, like as fans, we forget that we lose interest, and like we can want somebody to just keep winning. Like, oh, that's my guy. I just want him to win every match, and then he wins the title, and that'll be great. But like, I guarantee, a month after he wins the title, we won't care because he has there's no dirt under his fingernails. He didn't have to fight for this. We had his back from the beginning, and now it's like, okay, next. When you've watched kind of the journey. And it's different to different degrees, right? Some people have watched your journey for the last year. Some people have watched 5. Some people have watched 10. You know what I mean? But people have seen this journey and understand that like there is some substance behind what you're doing. And I think that is one of those things that support sustains for.
For sure. I always said like what separates these characters from these characters, like the figures I'm watching on your desk right here, everybody had a different motive to get to where they are. That's what separates everybody. What's their motive to getting to climb? What keeps them climbing? What keeps this guy going forward over this guy? What's this guy willing to do that this guy isn't willing to do? What matters to this guy that this guy can take away to get him going? Or is this guy willing to take anything away to keep climbing?
Yeah.
What is he standing on? You know, that's what really builds like the stories of characters. That's what builds the heart. People got to invest into that. That's what builds the investment.
How do you feel about how it's become very, very commonplace? I feel like the safe take has become Swerve's the future, Swerve's the champion. He's going to be the next champion. Like it's become one of those things that you just say it, right? Fans just say it.
Well, I said it. I said if I had the opportunities that Hangman Page gotten a year ago, I'd be the first African-American world champion.
And I think the reason it stuck with people is they went, yeah, that's probably right. You know what I mean?
There might have been a little bit of truth to that. And it was also like, ooh, is he allowed to say that?
Right.
Wait, why isn't he allowed to say that?
Right.
Then that's when a conversation struck. It was like, oh, it's about race. I'm like, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So? Like, it's not about race baiting. It's about pride. This culture, like, why can't a heel have pride in this culture? Why can't someone who's doing bad things have pride in that? That, if anything, the people that do it the worst are the ones that have the most pride. Because, you know, we're fighting for way more.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it's like people living under the society. Like, we have pride for what we had because we have so little of it. We haven't gotten to taste this yet. So we're prideful with the little we get. Imagine what we would do with a lot. You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
So the underdwellers are the ones, like, once again, one of my favorite, I said it before, one of my favorite movies is Demolition Man, Simon Phoenix. I got a lot of inspiration from Wesley Snipes in that role. But the biggest thing is like the society above and the society below. Like, oh, these people are scrummaging, coming up, taking everything and tearing all this. They're ruining our perfect society. Oh, they have no pride for what they do. They have no pride for our art and our society and our cleanliness and what we're trying to, like, if anything, they have more pride because they're not taking from other less. They're taking from people who have more to give to keep their society sustainable.
Yeah.
Because they like what they have. They like not having rules. They like not having to do what, like, you know, to do what somebody else telling them to do. They like the, you know.
And if you're coming from below, your only option is to be the very best, right? All you can do,
because if you don't eat,
to break
you don't
that
live.
is be undeniable. Yeah.
If you don't eat, you don't live.
Right.
And how do you eat? You go up to go to grab and come back down. They're not coming down to go back up. They got it. They don't have to.
Right.
We're going up to come back down to keep our society growing because we have pride in what we do. There's pride in that. And then there's badges of honor and oh, who's the guy who's leading us to that? I'm not a leader. I'm not a leader. I'm just a guy with an idea. I'm just a guy with thought. That's pride.
Yeah.
So me saying yeah, well, I would like to be, I think I could be the first African-American world champion because I have pride in that.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with saying that, and anybody wants to twist it into whatever you want, you go right ahead. Does that stop me from continuing doing what I'm doing? No.
Right. Yeah. And we get back to the original point, which was if you'd like for me to explain why I said that, I'd be perfectly happy to. I know exactly why I said it.
Exactly.
And I meant it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Is that when you talk about that as a goal or any goals, are you now looking forward as you're okay, you clearly have the most momentum you've had in your entire career. Are you going, okay, here's what I want to do. In the next year, I want to do this, that, this, and that, whether it be in wrestling, whether it be in music, whether it be in acting, or do you go, I'm going to just continue to ride and build on this wave?
The beautiful thing about that, all those things are happening all at the same time.
Right.
Because I have a great team around me. The acting thing, we just put out Night of the Missing. That I worked with Andrew Hirsch, Samuel Gonzalez, who, if you don't know, he's worked with Blumhouse. He's done the Gallows years ago.
Yeah,
really great horror movie
great.
Back then. I remember seeing that in theaters. So working side by side with those guys is awesome. It was a small little role I had, but it was just it's a great start.
Yes,
and I'm once again, I'm prideful. I'm happy about that opportunity that I got. So that happened. That we shot that a year and a half ago, but it somehow aired right after Texas Deathmatch. So it was
convenient.
Yeah, after I did a home invasion with Hangman Page, I was So it was that. Once again, I can't time that.
Right.
It just happens that way. The Lucas brothers came through to
awesome.
Full Gear. And they co-wrote. They got 3 Oscars for writing.
I love those dudes.
Judas and the Black Messiah, guys. So that was they saw that and they're like, oh my god.
That's it. I mean, but those guys, it goes back to this idea of how far can we take this stuff?
Yeah.
Because I mean, I've known those guys. I knew those guys as comics. You know what I mean? As comedians, just we'd hang out, we'd goof around. And then this movie comes out, and I'm like, man, that was incredible. And I'm like, wait, who wrote it?
Yeah.
Wow. And you're like, okay, well, now that's a different category now,
I was like, wow. And then they stepped away for a little bit. So, I think this, watching what we did and then seeing Flash as best friends with them.
Yeah.
Then the music videos are Titantron. Then they see Wembley. Then they see, it's all these things. It's oh my god! And then I'm doing stunt choreography with Guy De Silva, who's the Black Panther in all of them, Civil War, from Black Panther to Infinity War and all that, and then Endgame he did the stunt choreography for all that. So all these things are just kind of coming together. That was just being fun, but now it's wait, this could be life changing.
It's a real thing.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. It's I don't put this plate aside and stuff like that. It's just no, let's just keep going.
It's interesting too, because it's the way you've always been. I mean, I remember having conversations with you way back when WWE came to a whatever it was, 3 or 4 people and said, hey, do you want to? We think you can just produce a show on the WWE network by yourself. And I was like, that's when I hear something like that, I go, yeah, that's incredible. The idea, you're just going to leave me alone and let me. And they came to you with the same thing, and Swerve City ended up on the WWE network for a season.
Yeah, 10 episodes.
Unreal.
I was like, okay, cool. And I was like, okay, we can do the wrestling guest, but what can we do that's the other platforms can't, not I wouldn't say can't do, but that's just we have this little edge. So it's let's bring the Flatbush Zombies on with Rosenberg at the same time.
Yeah.
It's hey, this is on WWE Network, right? Let's do it. I don't know.
Because you have the opportunity, right? It's do your show. And it's okay, then I'm going to do my show because this doesn't exist. Like, what can you make that doesn't exist without you?
Exactly.
Which is that.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. And that's what I always like try to say. I'm like, it's almost like when you're the creator wrestler, it's like this, a form of green versus a form of blue. Like, how do I put identity into that green so they know it's me? Like the common person. Like, how do I put identity in that blue to know it's me and it's not just a blue shape doing stuff? And that can apply to wrestling, but it can also apply to like whatever your platform, whatever your product is. At the end of the day, you got to look at yourself as content. And why should people choose your content over the next person? And I still got a ways to go too.
Sure.
But like, I'm not stopping.
Right.
That's the key. Like, we don't stop. I always say, I tweeted out the other day, like, don't stop working. Now you can work slower, you can work faster, but you don't stop.
Yeah.
Do not stop working. Or you can have other people work for you. Build up a point where you work a little bit, but this person works a little bit, and this person works a little bit, and this person works a little bit, but the work doesn't stop.
Right.
That's the key. It just doesn't stop. Some people see that and it's like, oh, I'm going to exhaust myself. Like, no, you don't. You just don't have to stop.
Right. And it's helpful if it's stuff you're passionate about.
Yeah.
It should be stuff that you're passionate about.
If it's stuff you're passionate about, it doesn't feel like work.
Right.
It just feels like you're just doing.
Yes. 100%.
And that's why I feel like I am right now. I was like, oh man, I got to go to the studio. I was like, no, like, oh man, I got the studio day.
Yeah.
Like, hopefully, like, or, like, oh, we got the podcast. All right, let's get everything ready. Yada, yada, yada. Because like one thing, like, especially when you have people working aside from you or under you or your co-workers and stuff, don't let them feel, you don't want to show that this sucks.
Right.
This is, this is a drag. Oh, you're not enjoying it. Because then they're not going to enjoy that. They're not going to give the energy. They're going to give the energy opposite of what you give. If you're up and beat and you're giving it all, they're going to be up and beat and giving it all. If you're calm and cool and like, man, relax, man, don't be nervous. And like, then they're going to, oh man, okay, I know my co-pilot is going to be cool and calm and chill and stuff. They're like, we got this. Ain't nothing to worry about. Because if like you want somebody riding with you like that.
Yes.
You want somebody that has everything under control.
100%.
100%.
And if anybody doubts the, just keep going and don't stop mentality. I think if I remember right, I hit you up to do this on a Wednesday, like right after I saw you on TV. And like, I was like, hey, I've been meaning to, let me hit him up. And like, you hit me back like right away. And I'm like, this guy is just like, he was just doing this. Now he's making plans to do that. I was like, I was impressed by it.
Yeah, and that was already had plans out here too. So I was
right,
like,
it just
I can
worked.
Make that happen.
Yeah, and the fact that you're,
I was like, wait, okay, cool. I'm not afraid to lose a little bit of sleep to replace it with something.
Yeah,
like productive.
Yeah,
Can
I tell you? Obviously, I'm a podcaster. We got a fantasy book all the time. I'm watching these shows and I go, okay, here's what I would do. Here's what I would do, and it's great. And I have to tell you where I want Swerve to go as a fan, okay?
Okay.
I'm all for the eventual world title. I'm all for the MJF story that we'll get at some point, just because as the Swerve character builds in power and the juxtaposition it would have with and I say this because he's a fan favorite now, the softening of MJF, not to say that he's weaker, but to say that he's more vulnerable. He's got friends now. It's just a different character, right? I love that idea, and I'm sure everybody does. I want Swerve to be the one to retire Sting. And I want it to happen in not a nice way. You know what I mean? Everybody's got this idea that like Sting goes out and it'll be nice. It'll be in Greensboro. It'll be like, the cap off. But like, it hit me when they said Sting's undefeated in AEW.
Yeah. And
I was like, okay, well, you could like have a nice send off, and even if he loses, shake hands at the end and go like, "Yep, what a great spot for somebody." Or you could have somebody come in and you wanna put somebody in a position to really be a villain.
Mm-hmm.
What if we stole that moment? Like, what if that last moment of Sting was heartbreaking?
That's the magic. The magic
right?
is taking away the magic.
Yes. Yes. I took that from you. I didn't just take it from Sting.
Yeah.
I took it from everybody in this arena, everybody that bought the pay-per-view wanting to see this moment.
And I close him in
mine.
a coffin.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's for me. That's for me. That's what I would love.
That's the most like sadistic poetry.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
Like,
yeah.
That would be beautiful.
Beautiful.
That'd be beautiful.
And then eventually somebody beats you and gets that energy back, and it all just passes around.
Yeah.
Look, man, this has been great. Is there any? I mean, it's so hard to plug what you're doing because you're doing so much. But where should we? Of course, Swerve City Podcast. If you're listening to podcast or you're watching this on YouTube or whatever, just look up Swerve City. You're. I was just watching the Cardona interview. That was great. Who Kid's coming on? I can already tell you, Who Kid's one of the great podcast guests.
Oh my
anyone
God,
could have. So I'd imagine that's going to be fantastic.
For sure. Oh, like we shot it already in Miami.
Yeah.
Like right before he the same night did clubs and had Travis Scott come out. I was like, I should have stayed around, but I rather sleep. Yeah, but the stories that he was telling is just wild. Where it's like you'll think of this moment in hip hop. He's like, "Oh yeah, I was right there." Like, wait, what? Where? You're looking through these pictures. Like, where were you? Like, yeah, I was right back there. I was like in the corner. Like, yeah, when homie got shot, I was over here. I'm like, wait, what? like him discussing he was the first. He was the first DJ on the Chappelle Show on the pilot episode. I was like it's very Mandela effect. Like wait, was that you up there in the booth?
No, that wasn't. And then you go back and watch it, and you're like, it was him. Yeah, it was him.
Like, no, did you do a time thing and replace this DJ? Because I don't remember it being him.
Yeah, that's my thinking. That's what he did. He went back and
just like seeing where his placement in hip hop is so funny. Like he tells the story man, I was like on the porch in New York or whatever, and my dad is just beating me over the head and stuff. And Tupac walked by, hey, he's beating the shit out of you. And he just kept going. I'm like, wait, what? Tupac. So it's a really interesting listen. So I implore everybody to go out and listen to that when it drops this Friday. Actually, today. Is today Friday? Yeah, today. It drops today.
It's out.
It's going to come out. By the time y'all see this, it's out. Swerve City Podcast. Check that out. Monteezy has some great insight with the hip hop world too. He's a phenomenal artist in himself. He just did Sammy Guevara's entrance.
That's awesome.
At a Grand Slam, so he just got to have that moment, which I had no part of. That's his own that's his own work.
That's great.
So it's not like Swerve is pulling strings. No, my people work too. My guys do their thing too. So shout out TZ getting that moment. He has a record with Rich Boy out now. So check that out. My album has been out since May. You Couldn't Be Me. Had Benny the Butcher on there. Flash Garments featured on there. Anthony King, phenomenal artist. Prophet the producer. Rich Lotta. All these guys. Flatbush, Zombies, Juice. Zombie Juice came through. We shot the music video. Fireman, incredible Grammy award-winning artist and writer. He worked on Donda with Kanye. He's on there with the Work It video. So Working in These Dreams are out now. We shot those in back-to-back days too, while also having to wrestle Dynamite and Rampage and Collision that night too. So that was, like I said, I didn't sleep at all that week. So go check those videos out. Man, go check out Night of the Missing. Mm-hmm. It's out on. You can rent it for $3.99 on Amazon and subscribe to Screenbox. You can check it out there too. A lot of talented people that I worked with on that project, and a fan of horror. See how I fit the horror mold, is awesome, man. Got a lot of stuff coming up. And check out Dynamite.
Yes, of course.
Check out Dynamite every Wednesdays, 8 p.m. Eastern time on TBS. Rampage Friday nights at 10.
At 10.
And Rampage on TNT. And Collision Saturdays 8 p.m. on TNT, man. So it's a lot going on.
It's a lot,
but
it's good.
I might have forgotten some, but yeah.
Hey, Google Swerve.
Yeah, just check me out. I got some records coming in. I just worked with Chase the Money, who does a lot of Dreamville stuff.
Well, the beautiful thing about you is people should check out all your stuff, but even if they try to avoid it, you're going to be somewhere.
I'm going to be somewhere.
You're not avoidable.
And if You try to keep me out of your content, you look stupid in the end.
That's right.
Because everybody's talking about it. Why aren't you?
Well, there it is. Beautiful note to leave it on. Thank you so much, Swerve.
Yes, sir. Thank you, man. Anytime you want me, I'm here.
Thank you, man.